I know, it's only one, right? And then one leads to two, and then three.
No, just have one.
And then I'm doing drugs on the corner.
Oh my God.
I thought you were doing that
It's a
yesterday.
gateway drug.
I thought I saw you doing that yesterday.
Yeah, you know, that's why today's a new day. Alright guys, we got a special treat for you today. We have one of our top producers who's always in the top 3 or top 1 or 2 since I've been at KW. And one thing that I think I appreciate most about Mike is he is very systemized, and I've gotten a newsletter or a letter, a golden letter, whatever you want to call it, in my house probably 3 or 4 times. Because whenever Mike sells a property, he sends out these letters, and it says, "Hey, I sold this property." And I'm like, how many times is Mike selling freaking houses? Like, I'm going to call this guy when I sell my house. He's going to do a better job than me. So I'm excited to announce Mike. He's going to get here. He's going to share a little bit about what he does, and then think of questions, because his time here is for you guys to answer questions, kind of what he's done to find success. But anyways, let's welcome Mike.
I don't know most of you guys. That's fun. So let's start with the game. Since I don't know most of you, and for people I do know you're not allowed to answer, what is something that you have heard about me?
You're scary. Oh, I can't
I
say
said
that.
the ones that don't. Anything?
Maybe that you're not friendly or communicative.
Okay.
Very productive
Okay.
and concentrated.
Excellent at following systems, models.
Okay. So that's something that you've heard. Is there anything that anybody knows about me?
He likes Metallica.
Drives a Tesla.
It's true.
Man of God.
Sure, we said that. Good things, I like that. It's better than the things that we've heard, right? Okay, and so the reason why I say that is a lot of times when we go into appointments with clients, right, we have our perspectives of them. We have the things that we have heard or that we have observed about them, right? Like people coming in late. And then we have the things that we know about them. And a lot of times I think that both of those things will dictate the way that you handle the appointment with the client. Does anybody agree with that?
Yeah.
Right. Does anybody want to share a time that got them in trouble, or that they weren't successful in dating a client because they came in with the wrong approach? Nobody's wanting to admit that. Everybody bats 100.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
That you've gone in with a wrong perspective or perception of how an appointment's going to go.
Oh, absolutely.
I'll admit to one. I thought I had clients because I knew them, and I thought it was a come list me. So I showed up with a friendly, not professional attitude, thinking it was mine. I'll come to find out they had another friend that was also in real estate, and I didn't get it, and I was pretty shocked. So
That was a learning experience.
it was a great learning
Did
experience.
you ever do that again?
I have never done that again.
Anybody else have that similar situation?
I've had kind of like the opposite, where I've gone in overly professional. Like I'm like there, I'm standing, sit down. You want a beer? You want this? And I'm like, oh, this is not what I expected. And
Did you oblige or no?
you know, I try to find that balance. Like they kept pushing, so I was like, well, do you have a water? Can I take a water instead? You know. I know with certain people, like I lived for Drew, like some people just like doing things a certain way, and sometimes you do, and sometimes you don't. But it's based off of a rapport and relationship. I think is what it comes down to.
Anybody have anything to add to that?
I think being too confident coming in.
Being too confident does what?
Being too confident, that will definitely get it.
You've gone in being too confident that you would get the client.
Yes.
So I have something to add. So I have the opposite personality, sort of you. So if I go into someplace that I'm meeting them for the first time, I have to like really tone my personality down a lot until I get a feel for them, and then I sort of start mirroring them.
Okay.
I've given too much information up front, so like they'll ask me for things and I'll just oblige and say, let me figure that out for you. And like I'll just say, okay, thanks.
Like what?
Like, give me a CMA for my property or whatever. Find this out for me, things like that. Go and do it, and then they don't actually,
Sign with you.
yeah, or they just list it or whatever themselves.
They use it, they use you.
So kind of like meeting with them first, seeing if they're serious, and then getting them.
Meeting with that person first to see if they're serious?
Yeah.
Or they'll show up unprepared? You're saying don't bring a CMA, show up unprepared?
No, like,
I think he's saying he's done too much for them, and then they end up, like, he gives them all the information, and then they end up just doing it themselves or hiring somebody else.
Like before you met with them?
yeah.
Over the phone, okay.
Before you met them? Anybody else? Any mistakes that we've made that we want to talk to?
I have one. Mark and I went on a listing appointment in this beautiful house in Lake LA. They had completely redone it.
Is that the one that you called me about on the way back?
Maybe, yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, I didn't think it would be a slam dunk, but it could have been. So I don't know, something happened midway, I'm not sure what we did wrong, if anything. They seemed okay in the beginning and then they changed their minds over the listing
Did they list?
with someone else. But
Did they, what price did they, in comparison to what they did, what price did they set?
they wanted around 400, and it was like, oh, they turned it into a one bedroom, I think that was a problem. I don't think that was an issue, I think we should have listed it at that price. So, that might have been what happened.
Okay. So why didn't you list it? Because Mark didn't want it?
No, the client, I'm not sure what happened. They sort of changed their mind midway.
Okay. I've been guilty of most everything you guys have said. With that, what I'll say, the time that I've done what I think would be similar is, I used to give my opinion about things to clients on taste or preference things, instead of like factual market things, right? So that sounds like maybe someone put their foot in their mouth and it rubbed the client the wrong way, and they still ended up listing and selling the property or something else. Even though it was at a price that you should have done that, right?
Yeah, and they ended up selling it for the price they wanted, which I'm okay with that, but since it was a one bedroom, I think, other agents would have listed it lower.
So I remember Mark calling me on the way back from that and picking my brain, and that was a unique one for sure.
Very unusual, yeah.
So. And can't cry ourselves off, right?
Yeah.
It is what it is. But learn from it next time and don't do the same thing again.
I think one thing I really had to learn was looking at better set expectations on how things are gonna go throughout the process. Because I've had issues where if, after doing it a few times, realizing that there's a lot of things I could have said to avoid my client getting irritated later on or upset or getting combative with them
Yeah.
to where I'm trying to hold them together and keep the piece, keep the whole transaction going.
Yeah, we wear a lot of hats for sure, right? It's not just the agent.
I would definitely like your opinion on, I've had probably about 3 now that people want to list higher than they should. And I agree too, just letting you know that it's too higher. They never want to drop the price then to where I want it dropped to. And then the listing expires, and then they turn around and relist at the price I was trying to get them to drop it to with somebody else. Right now I have one that I am concerned about because we're supposed to be relisting it. It's been off the market for 3 months. Back in my mind, I'm like, are they gonna go with somebody else because you know how agents are when theirs expires,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, that's easy pickings on the other agent's part, right? Like, well, you started at $650 and obviously that didn't work, and so they're not the bad guy in setting that price, right? Like, where do you think it needs to be? I'm like, well, you said 600, so let's say that so we don't look stupid. But it is what it is.
Or what would you do if one expired and you're supposed to relist it in 3 months? Besides just keeping in contact with them, I send them updates on what the market's doing in their area. It's Animal Baker, so there's not a lot of activity out there. But I don't wanna lose it.
I know we're not gonna do it until July, like, let's just sign a contract date in July, and let's go from there, right? And if you're still feeling self-conscious along the way, and you've done it and expired, and it's been some time, and like maybe you had winter pictures, like, hey, look, it's spring, it's coming, like, things are blooming, let's get the photographer back out there, right? And kinda dig your hooks in a little bit more, and make them feel more obligated to you. I think the bigger problem is addressing the price during the process while it's on the market more, right? Because a lot of times when you're in that situation, it's more like the client wants to be in control. And I don't think I've ever had anybody hire me that just wanted to tell me what to do. Right? Even though they might be a control freak, like somebody had said, you're a professional. And even if you have to tell them, like, look, I've done this 1,000 times. Like, I know what I'm doing. You're hiring me. You should trust me. Just listen to what I say.
What are things that you would say to them when they're like, yeah, no, you don't want to lower price?
So it's a much earlier conversation than that. And back to what somebody over here was talking about. I think you need to pre-qualify the appointment over the phone, right? And then I say that it's funny, but I don't think most people find humor in it. I say this in, but so you can ask them like, okay, do you want to be a home owner or do you want to sell your home? And at that price, do you think you're going to own the home or do you think you're going to sell it? And is that your goal? Right?
I'll have to look next week.
Yeah, there's, I kind of follow the joust for sure, and I enjoy that. That's why I said I think it's fun or funny. And I think that we all need to not be attached to the outcome. Right. And it's hard, especially when the market is slower and people are counting on the paycheck. But I think not being attached to it is probably the best thing you can do. And you're the professional, and I'll turn it back on me because apparently I'm the bad guy in the church. I tell people, I'm like, look, I'm not a politician, I'll tell you what I think regardless of good for you feelings or not. Like, your house doesn't work. And during the past few years, like I would say exactly this, like, hey, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to be offensive or hurt your feelings. I think I can sell your house for this, and I'm telling you it's not worth it. Like, if we can get the money, cool. Like, let's do it. But your house is not worth this amount, right? Somebody will pay it, so I think you should take advantage of it, but it's not, right? And so I just set that down, like, and then if they get all heartbroken, it's like, oh my blood, sweat, and tears are in this house, right? A good flip on that I'll do is like, okay, and I learned this a while ago, I started doing it, but I'll do like the estimated net sheet, I'm like, here's how much money you'll make, right? Especially when rates, 2 years ago, started going wild, I would bring a buyer's cost sheet, right? And part of justifying that your house is not worth that, I'll ask like, okay, how much is your mortgage? Oh, I paid $1,500 a month. Cool. The buyer who's coming to buy your house is gonna pay $3,000. Your house isn't worth $3,000 a month. Right? And just kind of like, you gotta reframe it because you're not criticizing them and their efforts and their house, right? You're not.
You just have to understand where the people are coming from.
Yeah.
That's smart.
I like that.
That is smart. I like that better.
I have a follow-up question, Mike. When you're having those tougher conversations, having to be a little bit more direct with clients, the more fun conversations for you, do you worry about offending the client where they're like the balance? Because I know a lot of agents struggle with telling the truth and offending, and they want the client to like them. I mean, where do you set the line with, I have to be truthful to tell them I'm the professional, and also I need to have this relationship for long-term referrals. What's your mindset around that? How do you come out around on that side of it?
Always be truthful. Like, I am a transparent person. I'm not in this business to make friends, right? Plenty of clients become friends, like that's different, and a lot of it comes from the brutal honesty on telling them the truth, right? And it's like, look, I know what I mean? Like if you've got a sign sitting on a house for God knows how long and it doesn't sell and then somebody else pops up, well, Mike's an idiot, he doesn't know what he's doing, right?
That's what they tell them to.
100%. I'll have clients call me that are in that situation, and they go, Mike, damn it, what the hell happened? Why are all these people calling me? And why do they all have negative things to say about you? I'm like, I know why they're calling you, right? They're sharks,
That's
right?
what they do.
They're desperate, like that's their business model, that's not mine, right? Garrett, did I answer your question?
Yeah,
Just
absolutely.
tell the truth, just be honest and.
You said an important thing. I just wanted to reiterate it because a lot of agents are high I personalities, and that hurting someone or this is a challenge. So how important it is to do it. That's all.
Well, and it doesn't even have to hurt. You know what I mean? Like you can tell the truth.
Yeah.
And tell it in a way. You know, again, like you're not criticizing the person or their house or their efforts, right? It's your house isn't worth that. And what do I mean by that? It's not worth $3,000 a month. Would you pay $3,000 a month for your house? Hell no. You know what I mean? Like it just those are easy. You have to find an easier way to have the conversation, and you have to take the focus off the person or even the house and come back. Okay. Anybody else want to talk something through?
I do have a follow-up to something I said. I did also hear that you're funny. So I forgot to say that in my first intro. So he's funny.
That matters.
See?
So do you welcome uncomfortable conversations? You sound like you're okay with that.
Yes.
It just comes from experience, knowing what to say and how to say it.
I think it started coming from a combative personality.
And now has it changed, or are you still?
I no longer try to argue with clients, if that's what you're saying. Again, like it's, you know, we are coming to people who are asking us for help, right? Hopefully they're not asking us to lie to them, right? And we shouldn't lie to them, even if that's what we're supposed to do. And no paycheck, no single paycheck is worth being dishonest over, right? And building a client for life, like you do that through honesty and truth and transparency. You don't do that by lying to them. I'm just used to, like I had a shitty childhood, so that's in my nature. And then I made it fun by Chelsea.
You need what?
Fun,
Ah.
so I'm sarcastic. Witty.
Even though we can't tell.
They're all defensive mechanisms. I am a broken ass person, don't get me wrong. You gotta get comfortable with it. And again, like you gotta take focus even off yourself. And it's about them and helping them and what can you do for them and what value can you provide to them. Like in most of my, or even right now, like in most of my appointments, I don't go like, hey, I'm Mike Watson, here's my resume and like this is why I'm graded, why you should choose me. Like I don't talk about this.
I think that's smart because some people that's not only agents, but some people I used to work for a different industry. That's all they did, and I'm like, shut up.
For sure,
You know,
for sure.
that makes no sense.
And then someone over here said something, like it being a stranger and winning them over and, you know, or thinking that it was a slam dunk deal, right? If it is a stranger and I don't know them, because I don't talk about myself in the beginning, I will ask them at the end, like, hey, like, do you have any more questions? Right? Is there anything that we've gone over that you need more clarity on? Anything follow up now? Okay. How important are credentials to you? Like, I don't like to talk about myself, but if it's something that you need to hear, tell me. Like, if that's a deciding factor for you, tell me, because I got it. If not, cool, let's sign.
How often do you find people say it is?
That it is important to hear. I've had maybe a handful of people say yes. Not many.
Yeah.
And that could be because they stalked beforehand, right? They look you up and see that you know what you're talking about. It could be that someone referred you to them, just things like that.
I've experienced, I don't know if you have too, but I've experienced this like before
before the appointment when I guess there's gonna be other people going into that appointment and there's someone else involved, and then that's when they start asking you your credentials before you even get the appointment? Like, oh, who are you? You're not some brand new agent or things like that. Have you experienced the same, but more so with that rather than at the appointment?
Have I had people question my credibility before the appointment? Is that the question?
Basically, yeah, that's what I get the most, is what I should say.
I'm sure I have, and maybe not as much in recent history. And I don't know if that's because the internet makes all of that easily available to people, or if I just carry myself in a way in the conversation that leaves no room for too much. Does that answer your question?
Actually, yeah, no, that actually opened my mind up to, thank you.
What does your listing presentation container look like if you're able to share it with us?
The hard copy of stuff they bring with me, what does that look like?
Yeah, anything different than the usual?
No, and I'll tell you that I 99% of the time don't even open it until I'm leaving. And then, so what does it look like? It's just it's a clear cover, but like a semi, like it's like a textured clear, and you set paperwork in and clip it, right? The first half of so this, when I'm leaving, the first half of this is about me and everything that makes me so great, right? And the second half of this is the data or CMA that we just discussed, and because I'll bring a one-line CMA, and I flip it around, it's upside down, and I'll go, okay, here's our actives, here's our pendings, here's our solds, this is what an appraiser's gonna use, this is what I care about, because this is what's in escrow right now, tell us what buyers are buying now, not what they've bought in the past, and not what they're not buying, right? So I'll have that. So the first half is what's about me and makes me great and successful. Second half is a more detailed version of this that just shows a little bit more information about houses. And then the last page is the estimated issue. And I usually bring 2 of those. I leave one in the report that I leave with them. And the second one I typically make notes on. Like if I don't know how much they owe on the house, like I'll guess the loan balance, right? And then I'll write the real notes on what that is, and I take that with me.
So it's in a binder, pretty much, your presentation?
Yeah. And like I said, I never go through it.
You don't have anything in there about your marketing strategy, or is it more just what the house is worth and about you?
The first half goes into that.
Okay. So good. Is it like a 10-point plan or anything like that, or it just kind of shows what you do?
Either, like it really goes into, like there's a little bit of IO, and then, says that there's me and that I have an amazing administrator and that we have a professional photographer and videographer, and you'll never feel left out of the process and confused as where the hell we're at, because I have this system that we use that provides updates all the time. And it's live, so you can go in and check whenever you want, but you also get automated emails that tell you.
So it kind of just goes through this
It's got
process.
some client testimonials in it. It doesn't go through the process. Like, that's more of a conversational piece.
What is that update system?
I use Brivity for my CRM.
What was it, Mike?
Brivity.
Oh.
What's your main source of business? What do you lead and what do you focus on to get your business?
Past clients this year. I don't do much cold marketing at all, like I do the just sold letters that Garrett was talking about.
So how do you systematically touch your sphere and past clients to continuously generate business from them?
As much as I hate social media, use that. I do a monthly email that goes out, like I do a real estate email, just kind of goes over a market recap. I send that out. And then just, birthday cards, anniversary cards, home anniversary cards, and then random calls, texts,
Your big event every year.
emails. I do pumpkin patch at my house every year. So I got a new one this year because the last one I just sold her house and sent her out of here. Right? And that's cheap, right? So I help her buy all the cookies from her. She thinks I'm great. And then I give everybody cookies. And then most people can't settle for one box of cookies. And so I tell them, like, hey, we need more. I'll give you her information and you can help support her too. So that's a win-win. Just stuff like that.
You were doing oh, go ahead, Jim.
No, is it like a structured, like 36 touch, 32 touch, or just kind of periodically?
I am very hands-off with it now, so it feels more organic, but it is very much structured. Just something that I set up with Heather when she first started working with me, which has been 6 years now, and she handles most of that. Like, it's to the point where she, like all of the cards, all the handwritten cards that go out, I don't write like a girl. I don't know girl's handwriting. My signature. Right? So, just stuff like that. And then like I've got all of the birthdays and stuff are synced in my contacts in Google, so they show up on my Google Calendar. And so every freaking day, like I didn't even look today because I was kind of in a hurry. Let me see if it's anybody's birthday. Nobody's birthday today, but tomorrow is Anthony's and Sharice's birthday. So I'll text them, say, hey, happy birthday. And as soon as they respond, great, you guys do anything fun to celebrate? Just carry on a little conversation like that.
Sure. Okay.
So it seems organic, even to me now, even though I know it's extremely systems.
How'd you go about getting their birthdays? Did you just ask every transaction and put it in? Yeah. So simple.
You were doing tons of, I don't know if it was just during 2020, 2021 era, but you were doing tons of like neighborhood snaps and sending them to each individual neighborhood.
Those are just sold letters. I wasn't, so the just sold letters like, hey, I sold your neighbor's house here. And if I did a great job, so we'll come back to the first paragraph. The second paragraph says that X amount of homes have sold in your neighborhood in the past 6 months. They sold for an average price of X and in an average number of days.
And you were smiley face emoji.
It's a shocking. I'll come back to that. That's at the bottom. So on the first paragraph, if I outperformed the market average in the second paragraph, I include that in the first paragraph. Like, hey, we sold it for this price. Down here, your neighborhood's average is this. If I didn't meet it because it was a small house or whatever, right, then I don't include that. It's just like, hey, I sold your neighbor's house. And then at the bottom, there's a blip when I change it as needed about current market conditions. And for a long running while now, it's been about inventory levels being low. And so then there's a graph of the average active inventory over the past 12 months, and it's been low. So there's a shocked emoji that points with an arrow down to our current number of homes.
And how, do you see a decent response for those? Because you're pretty consistent at doing them. I know quite a few people that receive them.
Yeah. I mean, it's still there is, right? I usually make $60,000-ish a year off of those, and I haven't done my taxes yet this year, so I'm not positive, but I usually spend around $5,000.
It's a good return.
So if you think that's successful, then yes.
It's about 6 transactions roughly. I mean,
Ish.
ish. Yeah, that's great.
So with those mailers, let's say you did just sell one, do you send the one-time mailer to them and that's how you get the response, or is it consistent?
I do it at sold. I used to do it like, hey, I just listed your neighbor's house, right? And hey, I put your neighbor's house in escrow, and then I would, hey, we sold your neighbor's house. I cut back to the just sold, and I did not see it again.
But you don't send them more mail after that, it's just that one postcard?
Just, it's a letter that's trifolded in an envelope with handwritten address.
Pay attention in your mail, you'll get one soon.
Oh, yeah, threw it away.
You don't like social media?
I go to my mom's house and I'm like, get this off the refrigerator, Mom.
I
I'm
also
a realtor.
I also noticed you had some in black and white and some in color. Is there a reason for that?
I was testing if I thought or saw that either made a difference, because the cost difference is about 5 times. I've not seen a decline in the black and whites. And the only thing that you would notice, I think, in the black and white is that stupid emoji. I say stupid, it wasn't my idea, but it works.
Yeah.
I
It's
hate
memorable.
social media. I hate social media.
I get it, but I'm just wondering why.
Because I'm introverted as can be.
Mike, I have a question.
And I have layers.
Lots of layers. When you were a new agent, because there's a lot of new faces in here, you have been successful for a long time, and now you're focusing on Sphere, and you're doing kind of really what's taught. But how did you start the Sphere, build it? How did you get going to get to the spot where you're at?
It was a lot of work. I mean, it was a lot of work, especially timing-wise. So real estate's literally all I've ever done, straight out of high school. Even while I was in high school, and I'll skip the first chunk of it, but that was 2002 is when I started, is why I said that. Watched the market right up through 2006, thought this was easy. The reason why I got my license was I was doing data input for my friend's mom worked at an office here, and she would do like the CDAs, is what we call them. And she's like, hey, I'm going on vacation, your computer, like, can you cover my desk doing data? Yeah, that's easy, right? I go in there and do it, and doing the CDAs, I'm like, dude, this guy's gonna make 10 grand. I look out, I'm like, who is it? I'm like, dude, I'm way smarter than that guy. That guy's an idiot, you know what I mean? And legit, like, that's what started all of this. But go through 2006, that was all easy money in the markets, not for me. And I almost stopped. I almost didn't like go solo because I was an assistant at the time. Because the guy that I worked for was in the top 20 at the time, and in 2006, the years that I worked for him as an assistant, he was over 300,000 every year, which in the time was amazing, right? But dude had nothing to show for it at the end of it. Like, nothing to show for it. Like, still lived in the house that he lived in, that he bought in like freaking 85 when he was 20. And just like, I'm like, dude, like, this is hard. Like, what the hell, right? Then I learned he was an idiot, even more than that. And was just bad with his money. But moving into 2007, 8, 9, 10, 12, right? Like, that market sucked. And that was a whole lot of working my face off. Like, legit, like 15-hour days. Like, getting through the short sale market was brutal. But it was really just building trust by being honest with people through that experience. And not judging them, because, like, I swear, like 90% of the valley turnover in foreclosure or short sale. But just being there as someone that can help and gaining their trust and earning it and their loyalty. I mean, it was just a lot, dude. Like, that was, like, no bullshit, like, staying up till 7, 8, 9 o'clock working. And it was easier to do then because I didn't have kids, and my wife was in either her bachelor's or master's program. And she was at school, so I had nothing better to do. But it was a ton of work.
And you were on your own? You were a solo agent?
So I was an assistant until from 2005 to 2010. And from there, I went solo. Well, I had a partner, and then went solo. So it was just
real fast.
working your face off.
Do you mind if we stand a little closer to our mic on this side? Sorry, they let us know on Zoom. Sorry.
I should probably stand over there.
So with the real estate changes that are coming, sort of with commissions and all that how do you think it's gonna affect the market, and what are you, and how are you going to adjust, or are you gonna adjust?
I am not gonna do anything differently, because I know that I provide enough value, I'm not worried about it. Secretly, I'm happy that it's coming, because I think it's gonna cut a lot of the fat out of the market, which we need. Because there's a lot of people that don't know what they're doing and pretending that they do. There's also less homes for sale, and so pie is smaller, and you got a bunch of onesie twosie agents out there that I will gladly watch walk anymore. I'm not gonna do anything. I don't think it's gonna make a difference. And here's why. So when we negotiate commission, who are we negotiating with? Seller. So it's an agreement between the seller and who? The listing agent. Okay. What's the lawsuit about? Okay. Who negotiates the commission?
Listing agent and seller.
Okay. There's no freaking problem. I don't know why the lawsuit, like I don't know how this came to a head at all. Like I really don't. So here's the thing. Hey, Mr. Seller, you're gonna agree to pay me a commission, right? Here it is in writing. Cool. That should be the end of the conversation. It's not. In the listing agreement, it's like, oh, and by the way, the other agent or the buyer's probably gonna be represented by an agent. You're aware of that, right? Yeah. And it's in your best interest that they are? Yeah. Okay, cool. Do you wanna offer compensation to that agent? Or do you just wanna hope that someone's gonna work for free and bring a buyer to your house? Who's gonna say no to that?
I like that answer, I'm just. I'm trying not to talk right now, so. No, I love it, because it kept it very simple and.
Like, that's what it is, dude. People try to overcomplicate shit all the time. And we're guilty of it too. I mean, we all try to, like who here doesn't freaking prospect every day? Everybody raise your damn hands, right? And why is it? Because you make it too hard. Like, oh, I'm gonna call them and they're not gonna answer. Cool, leave a voicemail. You know what I mean? Like, we overcomplicate stuff way too much. So keeping it simple is good. Like there's times that you need to keep it simple. There are times that things are more complicated and need to be given more weight. The commission thing is not that.
And if somebody like you who's introverted and doesn't want to talk to people most of the time can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. And then back to the social media thing, like I hate social media with passion. Yet I'm sure I do more videos than anybody in this room. Like, I do videos all the freaking time and I hate it. It's painful. It's physically painful to do it.
Videos for what though?
For anything. Like, so monthly I do the stats. Like I got an awesome setup in my house. And I do like a little, like a Samsung TV and it's got a slideshow. You can.
Yeah.
And
They're actually pretty cool.
And then
I actually love them.
His whole setup your setup at your house is awesome.
my setup is gangster. Like I am a nerd. Like I spend a lot of money on
Do you have a daily routine you follow every day?
a daily routine. Yes. That's a coping mechanism for sure. I've got ADD. And so, like I said, I'm a broken person. And
You look good though.
hey, it's all by routine. So, does anybody else have a morning routine? Does anybody want to share theirs, or do you care?
Mika.
Does anybody not see the value of having a morning routine?
I'm terrible at sticking to my morning routine.
Does anybody stick to a morning routine?
I'm working on getting better at it.
Okay, what does your routine look like?
Wake up, I usually go somewhere dark for a little bit and just kind of, like I meditate. And then I take a shower, get ready, get my stuff, get my dogs fed, make sure everything's in order with the kids and the wife, and then head out here.
Head out here.
To the office.
Okay.
Yeah.
Every day, like clockwork.
Yep.
And you do that because it makes you not forget things.
Yeah. No, if I don't do that, then my whole day's feels like the whole day's unstructured.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Just remind me I forgot to get my dog's medication this morning.
There's value to it. So my mornings look very similar. I get up, I've shifted a few things. I now volunteer at my kids' school in the mornings. But so right now I get up, I go do daily devotional. Well, pause. It's more complicated than that. I get up, I go downstairs, I drink AG1, which is a greens drink. I make that, and I make coffee, and then I go do my daily devotional. I wait an hour before I drink my coffee. Well, it's even more complicated than that. I make a 24-ounce bottle of electrolytes. So I make all of those, I go do my daily devotional, drink that, and then I get dressed, go to the kids' school, and then come back, shower to do a reset mentally. I used to be the person that could not leave the house without showering. Changed that, but only to go to that for an hour. Come back, use that as a mental reset, and then I start to work.
I got some up here. If you wanna.
Okay, flip them.
What's going on with our
So yeah, so this is about. And this is
To buy a home, you may want to find out because your credit score has an impact on your mortgage rate. And while you may have heard that the average credit score for buyers is 715, that doesn't mean that's what you have to have in order to buy. If you're thinking about ways to boost your number a bit, here are a few things to focus on. First, your payment history. Late payments can drop your score, so focusing on paying your bills on time will definitely
Like the market update or something that happened on there.
I don't know.
Where's right? Oh,
This office.
Hey, it's Mike Watson. Are you thinking about selling your...
was that
The tag page, or here, and I'll go down to November. There was one right there.
this one?
You can't see what I'm pointing at. Yep.
Sorry, it's okay.
Hey, it's Mike Watson with Keller Williams, and here is your real estate market update for January 2024. In January, we had 380 homes come on the market. As you can see,
As you guys can see, yeah.
So I just do all kinds of stuff, and then sometimes I'll find like some ridiculous article that's like the market is crashing, right? And I'll take a screenshot of that and record a video from it. I'm like, okay, like that's not even true nationally, but it's most definitely not true locally, and here's why.
So you're on social media, you just don't like it.
Yes.
I really like the one about the coffee, about being friendly.
I think I'm funny.
I heard you are, so I mean.
The one person that I paid to acknowledge that I'm funny did that. Okay, answer morning. Answer morning routine.
I was gonna ask a quick question, as far as, like, what do you find, or like when you were aging, what was like your biggest challenge that you think, that you had to get over, the biggest hurdle?
I was young. So again, I started straight out of high school, and legit, my first buyer client that I ever had, no bullshit, in the lobby of the office, looks me dead in the eyes and they're like, "Are you old enough to drive?" That sucks. Yep, I sure am. Let's go. I looked young, but I told you I had a cracked childhood. I had a chip on my shoulder, and so. And this was an old man's game, right? Like, and I'm not old yet, but it was an old man's game, and so I was like, okay, how do I prove that I know what I'm doing, that I'm confident, right? And right or wrong, this is what I did, and it must have helped a little bit. I got to know the contracts phenomenally, like, and I still know them, and Garrett knows, I get in plenty of arguments with people who think they're right, and then they call me back and say they weren't. So just to prove myself, I guess, because I was young, was that, and then just knowing my data, like knowing the numbers. And back to the, do you get questioned about your credentials before, right? And I think it's because that's the way that I carry myself. And so like, the stupid videos, the monthly newsletter videos, like, I started doing that because I was already doing the work. Like, I've got a freaking Excel spreadsheet that goes back to 2000 when we started using Jaguar as an MLS. I've got all of the monthly sold data since then. I was doing the work already, and I would just, like, I would know, like, oh, we had, 508 homes on market average last month, right? And we had 390 going to escrow. And just knowing that stuff added to the credibility. And like, that wasn't like, hey, I sold X amount of homes this month, because in the beginning I didn't, right? And even so far this year, like, I'm getting my ass kicked. I'm at like 3 or 4. And last year, I only sold 42. And I say only, that was my worst number of closings in 10 years. but I still got to go to the region and get a freaking award for it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, it is what it is, but I think it's all in how you carry yourself. Like, confidence is huge, but you have to know your numbers because you will lose credibility if you just vomit stuff out on them and then they look and they're like, well, that was bullshit. Like, what else is he lying about? Did that answer your question?
Yeah, no, I got you.
So I needed to know the contract. And one of the oldie but goodies people, not too long ago, maybe like 5 years ago, reminded me that I had a chip on my shoulder because he called and I didn't answer, and I called him back, and then he had to call me back, and he goes, boy, you better answer your phone the next time I call. And I about lost my ever-loving mind on this guy. And that was just a reminder of the chip on my shoulder. Like, but to overcome that, I had confidence. I knew my numbers, I knew the contracts, and there was nothing other than like, hey, you're young, that somebody could poke at.
Yeah. You using numbers from Gabar or from like?
Gabar.
Just because it's the local area, right?
Yes. Or whatever market you're going to. But yes. And it's the same thing. The same principle applies. Like, if you're gonna go down to Santa Clarita, same thing applies. Like, you still gotta know your contract, right? And you still gotta know your numbers. And it doesn't have to be your number, but if you can just confidently say there was this many homes on the market, this many sold, and this is the average sales price, and oh, in your neighborhood, right? But you gotta come prepared. Like, the showing up unprepared is Russian roulette. Like, it doesn't work, especially with people that you do know.
I feel like it's hard with people that I know, because, you know, if they know you sort of in your relaxed state, I feel like I have to sort of.
But they're not, they shouldn't be calling you for who they know you as in your relaxed state. They're not calling like, hey, I know you're the class clown, can you come over and help me sell my house, which is the largest investment I've ever made in my life. It's, hey, I know you, and I know that this is what you do as a profession. I need your professional opinion. Come help me.
Well, I feel like for me, I think it's more me than it is them, that I feel like I need to sort of do a little demarcation between that Scott and this Scott.
You need to put your,
Like, that's
put your
more
business hat on.
Like
Put your business hat on.
Yeah.
Don't freaking accept the beer that they offer you.
I keep,
So I always carry this to that point. I always carry my own water with me. And because I did turn down, before I did turn down, like, hey, do you want some water? I'm like, no, I'm good. Because I don't know if you wash your dishes and your house is kind of nice. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, no, I'm good. And I do think that that rubbed people the wrong way. And, you know, they felt criticized. Sorry, like, to avoid that. Hey, you need a drink? Nope, I got mine, thanks.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Was there something else that I didn't touch? I got here.
No, the concept, knowing your, like, I remember, because I wasn't getting any transactions out when I started, so what did I do? I just read my contracts, and I think that's really helped me, because I look younger than I am, and then when I first started 5 years ago, I looked even younger, at 24 years old.
But you don't tell people, hey, I know my contracts.
No, but
Like, as I had that, I competed up against Danny Levine, who's not a new kid on the block, right?
Right.
And it was for a relocation to Northrop, and no shit, the client told me, they're like, dude, the other guy, you know what his sales pitch was? I know their paperwork, I know the contracts, I can help you get it done right. And I'm like, I don't give a shit if you know the paperwork, like, I need to sell my house, I need to sell it now. Like, I showed up and they were legit moving truck, they were bouncing as soon as our appointment was done, they were gone.
Right.
And it was like, that's cool, you know how to do paperwork, like, that's not what I'm looking for right now.
Right.
But if they do ask you questions, you can't go, I don't know, let me read, you know what I mean? Like, you gotta know.
Having the answers
Yeah.
really does help.
And the real answer is don't bullshit them, because when they find out, your battleship's sunk.
It says it in the Ignite too, on what your sellers actually want, and there's a chart there on what sellers hire their agents for.
Yep. And it's not knowledge of the contract, but it does help you.
So when you're going over, so when you have a listing, do you go page by page with your client over the contract, or you just say, I need to?
I asked them, okay, how detailed do you want me to go over this with you? like, I'll give you a hard copy, like, it's yours, right? But how detailed do you want me to go? Do you want me to go like, there's like a 10-minute version and there's like an hour version. And they're like, who the hell wants the hour version? I'm like, well, there are engineers out there that want me to go line by line, and if that's you, then cool, let's do it, but let's get started, right? And if you just want the 10-minute version, like, I'll hit all the high points, and this is where I'll tell them, like, look, contract, print it in color, right? You'll see all of the black text, state boilerplate. I can't change that if I want to. The only thing that I can change is what you see in blue. So those are really gonna be the points that I hit. If I say something and you have a question, stop me, and I will answer it for you. Otherwise, I'm just gonna tell you the important parts, and I'll leave you a copy, and if you have a question, you know how to find it.
We got time for one more good question. So who's got the best question that they've been sitting on? It's gonna change everyone's life today for Mike. Julio? A lot of pressure, Julio.
Probably is not the best question, you know?
There are stupid questions.
Back to, like 10 minutes ago, do you do marketing requirements and stuff?
I don't do geoforming, like I don't pick a neighborhood and just hammer that neighborhood number.
Okay.
I do the letters that he was talking about, I do just solds around every property that I sell.
How many properties around?
So I usually draw a map and I do the boundary of the neighborhood. If it's a small neighborhood, I usually expand it out to like half a mile. So to get bulk rate discount on mailers, you have to do a minimum of 200. I usually make it at least 500. If there's more than 500 in the boundary map, cool, I'll send them all.
They have something with the mail, where they have like specific drop zones, where they don't
Courier routes.
the courier routes, and they'll tell you how many you need to have for them to drop it off. You don't need to put stamps on it, you don't need to put.
Like a EDDM?
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so that was the last question, unless somebody else has something like super
Thank you
important.
very much.
Got 2 books that have been near and dear to me in specific seasons of my life. This one, we actually touched on it, and I don't remember who said it, but who feels like they have conversations with, so when I started out, there's a bookmark in here. That's not mine. So around the, like, hey, like, what have you heard about me and what do you know about me and how is that screwed up an appointment to you? Who thinks that they struggle with that a lot? Or that that's happened to them and they've not overcome it? That you've gone into the appointment with an assumption.
I feel like there's always a place to grow from that, because I would never want. So a lot of times the way you see yourself or how things went are not necessarily how they go. So I feel like.
But is that a conversational fail?
Um,
Or is that an internal one?
I always feel like there's always something that could be done better, either conversationally to avoid that ahead of time or things like that. So I've been doing a lot better. Like I haven't had that many situations, but I always feel like there's a ways to go from that for
Does
sure.
anybody feel like they put their foot in their mouth a lot?
Every day.
Oh, man.
With the clients? With the client during appointments?
This is going back to me having to tone it down, so I try and not talk as much as I normally do when with clients, because then if I talk too much, I'm gonna put my foot in my mouth, basically.
Believe it or not, one of my maths coaches told me that I talk too much. I'm like, my introverted ass talks too much. She's like, are you sure about that? She's like, I think you tell people too much and you can leave them more confused when you leave than when you start. So, yes. Then another cool trick with the water, it's a good way to shut up. You ask a question and take a drink and let the silence do the heavy lifting. Okay. I forget who said about this. So there was a good portion of time where I struggled with the idea that I had been successful. Like, I don't deserve this, right? Or does anybody feel that, like imposter syndrome?
Every day.
So, but who feels like they have imposter syndrome, but is also hyper competitive? We can share those.
Yeah.
And we're gonna make photocopies.
Yeah.
Yeah, who do you think? Because I don't know.
Probably. John, have you read Relentless yet? John's a reader. He's a big reader.
So there's one, but I will say, so I am not a sports person at all. He was the personal trainer for Michael Jordan. And so it's all like athletic stories, which didn't resonate crazy with me, but it's a really good book. I will say that he says things that may make you think you need to step out of moral, ethical guidelines, and I have already told you don't do that. But there's one line in there, like, and I used it on Rob, when he was in a stupid competitive situation, because he wanted to be nice, and, you know, try to make it a win-win in this situation, so then I told him I did not step on their throat and finish the fight. Like, and that book kind of does that. And like I said, I came at that from struggling with not deserving success and kind of like taking a step back because of it. And that was wrong, because money is good for the good money to do, right? That's good. So it's Relentless by Tim Grover. He's got a follow-up book called Winning. It's also really good. If anybody struggles with that in any way, I would say read those books.
Is that like starting with the no? Like you said, like the win-win, you said, what that? Is that like starting, have you seen the book Starting with No?
No.
Oh. He's completely against like the win-win idea. It's like there's no real
Well, so
win-win.
let me pause that real quick. So with business, and especially with us, and if we are competing on a listing, here's how I've had to frame my perspective, right? Business is business. Either I'm gonna feed my family or you're gonna feed yours.
Right.
I
Absolutely.
wanna see you do well.
Yeah.
I don't wanna see your family starve. I don't wanna see you lose your house. I'm not taking away from my family or you,
Yeah.
right? And so that's kind of where I was struggling with, because like all the time, like I talk about, like I don't need the money. Like I can use the money. Money's good for what it can do. I've been blessed. I've had a great career. If I lose one, or if I'm willing to walk away from one, cool. Like I'm fortunate, right? And like I have fired clients that treated me disrespectfully. I was like, all right, I'm done. Like, you know, go do your thing. But
Glad you touched
That is
on the fire.
a good feeling.
Because most agents don't understand that sometimes you have to fire your clients. So I like that. They're not really aware of it.
not that I'm proud of it. I've cussed a few people out, clients like that talk to me, or like one of my favorite ones, like I don't know who you think you're talking to, but I'm not him. Like you're not the truth that way. And it's not worth the money. Like I said earlier, it's not, to lie is not worth it, and to freaking sell your soul for it, it's not worth it either. Like it's not.
No.
Like it's just, dude, you gotta be able to sleep at night and feel good about what you're doing. Because it doesn't do anybody any good to be feeling resentment two ways, and you cash a check and they're like, yeah, that Mike, he was a dick, he did it for the money.
No. That's
Because you're never gonna get referrals from them.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Beautiful.
Well, thank you, Mike. Guys, next month we'll have another Coffee with Capper same time. Mike, we really appreciate you as always, man. And you guys don't have to leave, but you can't stay here because we have an ALC meeting, so you guys gotta get out.
All right, bye Zoom. You guys have a great day. Oh, I needed to grab a picture of Mike. Yeah.